I'm in a webinar. I'll call you back.
So thanks, you guys, for joining us today. So this discussion will focus on building campus partnerships and student support services. So before we get started, I'd like to encourage you guys to grab a pen and a piece of paper or an iPad to take notes or jot down additional questions, or even to follow up with a fellow participant. So if I can just ask you guys to start, just introduce yourself, so your name, your institution, and why you chose to participate in today's event. So Chris, let's start with you.
My name is Chris Davidson. I'm the Outreach and Community Services Librarian at Northwestern University, and I'm also a member of the Academic Outreach and Marketing Committee. Yeah.
Great, thanks. Christina?
Hi, I'm Christina Norton. I'm Outreach Librarian at Western Illinois University, and I'm here because I've been in this position all of 2 months, and I don't know what I'm doing in some aspects. So.
All right, great, Christina. Joan?
Hi, I'm Joan Pettit. I work at Portland State University in Oregon, and my title here is Communications and Outreach Librarian. So similar, it sounds like, to what some of you all are doing.
Okay. Marlinda?
Hi, I'm Marlinda Cairo at Stephen F. Austin. I am the business librarian. I'm curious about the outreach part of this, so that's why I joined.
Great. Good deal. And then Michael?
Hey, I'm Mike Courtney, and I am the Outreach and Engagement Librarian at Indiana University. And I'm nosy. I want to see what everyone else is doing.
Great. And I am Suzanne Bike. I'm the Associate University Librarian at the University of Texas at Arlington. My previous role at Florida State University, I spent about 8 years as outreach and programming librarian, so it's just a passion of mine. Much like Chris, I am also on the committee, so it's just where my heart lies. Now I spend my time doing all kinds of other things, but I love that outreach and partnerships, so I'm excited to hear what other people are doing as well. Let's see if anyone else joined. Nope, not yet. Okay, so let's just start off. So for those of you who have already built or cultivated successful partnerships, please share who are your campus partners, how that partnership was formed, and what kind of impact that partnership has had on students.
Well, I can jump in here. This is Joan again, and so, gosh, and so we're talking about in a non-academic departments, right? So not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the more interesting partnerships we've had has been with the folks who do first year, well, not just first year and transfer student orientation, and you know, we had worked with them a little bit, but what came about was because they needed us. They wanted a computer classroom to do registrations during orientation, and so we're letting them use our computer classroom, and you know, classroom space on campus is
At a premium.
yes, we like to hold that closely, right? So. And so then, and then in exchange for that, we were able. They show at their orientations. They have a video that plays during lunch or something, and there are like, I don't know, 2 or 3 minute things from all these different departments, and we were able to work with them to record one at the library. So we gave some really, you know, basic info. I mean, basically what you want students to know. Basically, you know, come into the building and ask us questions. Like if you can get them to know that, that's a pretty good start for brand new students on a campus. Mm-hmm. Anyway, and so then now that video shows to every student about the library. So that's been a great partnership. I mean, we've done other things, but that one worked out really well. But I'll say that came out of their need as much as, you know, us they reached out to us on that one.
That's great. Thank you. Anyone else?
Well, I'm happy to talk about it. if we're going to, I'll just carry on with the FYE stuff. So one of our big partners here is the Office of Admissions, as well as the Office of the First Year Experience. And so I get to be pretty heavily involved in pretty much everything orientation-wise. We're pretty lucky in that a lot of the orientation mechanics actually happens in the libraries. So everything from registering for classes, getting your ID card, and all of that. So we're pretty fortunate that we get a lot of people coming to us. And I also do a lot with international student orientation, which has a separate a separate orientation schedule. And that kind of was born out of my own interest in that community. And I got lucky enough to be appointed to an implementation team to kind of reimagine the whole new international student orientation. So we're looking at ways that we can integrate the new international students into the new domestic students and all of that kind of stuff. So everything we do here involves a whole lot of partners.
That's great. Anyone else?
Yes, I'll speak. We partner with our first years and transfer students. We have an SFA 101 course, if you will, so we give them tours of the library and subject-specific training and instructional services, that sort of thing. And it's across the campus. So I think it's a 6-week, 8-week course that each week they're either in a library one week or doing some sort of research another week or a tour another week, that sort of thing.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Would anyone else like to add anything? So I'll share my experience while at Florida State University. Around 2007, we thought we were going to build a learning commons, and we thought the money was coming, and it essentially went someplace else. So our dean at the time, she said, I need you to build a learning commons without any money. So we had to go back and say, what does that look like? And we decided that that meant partnership building. So prior to that point, there was not strong relationships between the libraries and other departments on campus beyond academic departments. So we decided to kick off a resource fair. So we started building connections with the health services department and advising and tutoring and international studies. So all of those student services departments. And we started hosting kind of these meetings to talk about what could that resource fair look like. And that really helped us kind of build those partnerships, help them to see what we in the libraries did, and then opportunities to collaborate. So from that, a couple of things happened. We started getting invited to the various departmental meetings in the different services departments to talk about finding resources and using citation management tools. So it helped them to see more broadly the kind of work that we do. And then secondary, we would talk to them about hosting programming within the libraries. So whether it's, resume writing from the Career Center or just these various programs that oftentimes are held within the different academic departments and buildings. And it's just not easy for students to find. So their numbers were incredibly low. And what we knew is we had about 6,000 students a day coming into the library. So we could provide great space, and oftentimes we were providing refreshments to have them hold their programming in the libraries. Once we started getting funding for that renovation, we started talking to them about having space in the libraries. So I think some of the other questions, I'll share kind of what those relationships look like and how it looks them having space in the libraries. But it ended up just incredibly successful just by having those initial outreach meetings to really find out what they do, what we do, and how we can work together. So shall we go on to the next question?
Let's do it.
Great. So how do you identify partners?
I mean, I think it's part just in willingness and informal relationships can develop all the time on a campus just by who's in the library, who seems to be. I mean, gosh, I'm sure we've all been in situations where we've done things that are slightly out of our job description because of an interest or just because we have a relationship with people. And, sometimes the people that you work with are the people that will work with us. And I mean that in a good way, taking advantage of a relationship as opposed to, I mean, there can be a perfect unit to work with, but if they're not into it, it's you can spend a lot of time. So I think cultivating the relationships from people who are also, I think the good thing about folks like in student affairs is that they tend to be kind of outgoing and have a lot in common with librarians, even if they don't have the same reporting structure, even if they're not technically under academic affairs in a university.
Yeah, I would second that too. For us, I didn't answer in the last question, but I can kind of answer here. My position was created in a reorganization at Northwestern, and that was kind of one of the main focuses for this position, was to give campus partners that weren't schools somebody to talk to, and that's something that we'd never done before. And so that included first-year experience, but it was pretty much everybody on campus that wasn't a school or a subject. And basically what I did was, I kind of started small and thought about who are the organizations that are likely to be good partners, at least to get going. Res Life was one of the big ones that we thought of first off the bat. The Student Union was another one. And then places that are kind of academic in nature. So for us, we have an Office of Undergraduate Research. We have an Office of Fellowships. So these are people that are working with students to provide similar services to the library. The library does, to give them a more robust academic, experience. And then, finding the people that are willing to work, and that actually really didn't turn out to be very hard. But there were people that wouldn't call us back, and we just wouldn't pursue that any further because, there's a lot of other fish out there to partner up with. So that's kind of how we did. I actually looked at the what do they call that? The campus structure, who all the departments were under what deans and whatnot, and just kind of wrote down a map of people to talk to, and then hunted them down on the academic calendar to find who was the right person to talk to, who might have a similar position to me, or who was a department assistant, or like not the director but the assistant director or something like that. That's kind of how we went about it.
Yeah, I guess I have a very similar tale to tell, in that my position was created sort of as a point for all of the underserved or unserved units on campus. And it's kind of a difficult spot to be in when you have kind of a rich history of subject librarians, especially, who've been doing a lot of outreach and sort of cultivating a lot of these partnerships. So you do have to be at least kind of pretty direct and selective early on as you start to build all of these relationships, because there's no shortage of people to work with. That's kind of the bottom line.
Yeah, you can't see me nodding, but we have the same situation here, I think, where there are a lot of really strong relationships with academic departments and not a shortage of other people who are interested in working with us. It's a good problem, but it can definitely be, well, I don't know if I want to say a problem, but anyway, can get back to the question, other folks answering it.
So I'll also share my experience. So we knew that we had such a large amount of students who were living on campus, and that we had no real idea of whether or not we were reaching them or touching them. So we began reaching out to the various resident assistants, and we didn't want to just hold research consultations in the residence halls or citation management workshops, but we wanted to help the students to see the library as something more than just that. So during different periods of time throughout the school year, we would host kind of academic fairs within the residence halls. So we would bring in our partners. So we would bring in the Writing Center and advising in the various student groups. and essentially have carnivals within the individual residence halls. We would bring DJs, we would have Twister, and then you could also find out more about the various departments, in addition to, at really key times during the semester, holding those research consultation type workshops. But it kind of gave us an in. It helped the resident assistants to see that they could look to us for partnership and programming. They oftentimes have to do a certain number of academic programming throughout the semester, and we just felt like this would be a great in for us. So we also had sunglasses that we passed out that the students were crazy for. So it was really important for the resident assistants to reach out to us as well, because their students were asking for that. So it was a great partnership for us.
That's awesome.
Anyone else?
I was just going to say, I would love if you send us, showed us a picture of what those sunglasses, did it say the library name on it or something? Or?
Yeah, if you will Google Club Stroge, I don't know if you'll find our sunglasses, but we were Stroger Library, and the students called us Club Stroge for many years, and the faculty went wild. They hated it. They didn't want the library to be perceived as a club, but we were hosting speed dating open mic nights. We were having people come in and have rap-offs. I don't know if that's the term, but so the library was definitely not a traditional library.
Wow, that library is an Urban Dictionary. Club
it is. The sunglasses, they are those super cheap, like $1.50 sunglasses if you buy them in bulk. The ones from the 80s, and it said Club Stroge on the side. So it was such a successful marketing campaign that during orientation we would have parents and students coming in asking for them. I can't imagine how many we purchased, but it was incredibly effective.
Yeah, sunglasses are a pretty excellent giveaway if you can get them.
Especially in Florida for us.
I can imagine.
Yeah, maybe not so much in Portland, but
maybe umbrellas.
Does anyone have any other good giveaways? I'm always looking for the next big one.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, for a while we used to give out the bracelet USB drives that were real popular.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a promotional thing, and I still have maybe 20 left in my drawer that I give out to students, but they're very popular. The USB drives, it's a little bracelet you can wear. That's our popular thing right now.
We did sunglasses during our orientation week, Wildcat Welcome. And that was insanely popular. We got, I want to say, 2,500 of them, and we went through almost 85% of them over the course of 2 hours in the second day. It was just convenient because they were all lining up for the buses and went right by the tent that we set up on the library plaza. So those were really popular. We've also done T-shirts. We do an orientation event, like a scavenger hunt, every fall, the second week of classes. And we used to reach out to businesses for gift certificates to kind of raffle off as prizes for people to participate. And that was successful. It was a lot of work. And then we put the money into actually getting Northwestern University Library T-shirts for every single person that participated, and
Nice.
Our participation over doubled when we did that because everybody got something like that.
So did you put the name of your library on the sunglasses, or they were just a giveaway?
Yes.
So they had the name.
Yes.
And people.
Yeah, they were.
Nice.
There were purple sunglasses, and they said Northwestern University Library and our font on it.
Oh, that's really fun. So this is not nearly as exciting as that, but I know mini staplers can be really popular.
I just tried that, but I must have gotten the wrong one.
Oh, no. Okay, well, maybe not anymore. Maybe.
Can we talk just for a second about funding? So I'm sure there may be people on this call that are wondering, how the heck do you pay for that? Because it is costly. Chris, do you want to talk about how you pay for that?
No. Um, actually, I am.
Overdue fines.
No, we're very lucky that actually our administration is very supportive of these things and they recognize the value of it. So they are very proactive about making sure that we have a giveaway every fall. So the T-shirt, the way we started the T-shirt actually was our sell for that was we'd like to do this, but every year the library gives away a gift around the holidays at our holiday party, and so all the staff were going to get one too. So that's how we said, all right, we'll get them for the staff, and we'll get them for all the students coming in for the fall orientation event, and that's kind of how we sold it. And because it was so successful, that proved that it was a worthwhile investment. But for the orientation events, they've generally just been supportive of it. It hasn't had to been something where we had to really, really fight for, so I feel very lucky in that respect. But it's also, I feel bad because I don't have any good tips and techniques for saying, well, this is how you argue for funding for these sorts of things. Another thing that we did was, real quick, is a button maker. We bought a button maker a couple years ago. It cost like $400 or something like that for the original button maker. Here, I'll just throw it up here. And that was insanely popular because we made our own buttons, and they were library buttons, and they were specifically related to our library. And some of them had just like library-ish catchphrases, but they were insanely popular at all of our events, and we can keep making them on and on and on. So it's the upfront cost is maybe a little high, but the long-term payoff is really great because it can be very specific to you. It can be specific for whatever event you want to make them for, and the actual cost of the buttons themselves is not that much once you get past the initial cost of the button maker. And we went for the 1.5 inch, which I think is a good size. I don't have any here, but
we heard 1 inch was the popular, so maybe 1.5 inch is good too. But yeah, we heard 1 inch was the hipster button size.
The 1 inch is a great size, but I'll tell you, there's not much that you can put on it.
That's right.
Right.
You have to be real mindful of the way you design them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we were able to put stuff on it like that had like words, whereas with the 1 inch, you really kind of only get like an image or something like that. So, I mean, the most popular button we had was the button that says "My library kicks ass."
Yeah.
Which,
really? And you were? I
yeah.
mean, yeah, that's great.
So yeah, the 1.5 inch though. I think the 1 inch was really just too small.
It is pretty small.
Just a little too small.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right now. I'm trying to look for a photo to show you all of some of the buttons we've made, so I can share that with you. But we had a giveaway that wasn't for. It wasn't a library thing. It was leftover. We had my library hosted a librarian conference here last summer, and we had leftover notebooks, and they were small, maybe I don't know, like 6x5 or 6x4 size notebooks with pens, and when we had extras and we gave them away at like a welcome week, the students went nuts for those, and I don't think they would have cared what it said on the outside. They were a little bit expensive to get, but I think something like that was branded could do really well too. I mean, they are nice little notebooks to have.
Yeah, we got this last year. I wanted something for graduate students in particular, so I got the, I don't even know what you call them, but they're little notepads that have the flags and the Post-its in them, and you can brand. You usually get them at a conference, and you can brand them with your library's name, and those just fly off the shelf, so to speak.
So it sounds like the key to successful outreach activities is you got to have goodies to give away.
And food.
And food, that's right.
Yeah, pizza if you can get it.
Yeah, definitely. So one thing that we did while I was at FSU, our Student Government Association has about $13 million that they don't know what to do with. So we worked very closely with them, and we wrote a proposal. They funded it, so we were able to use a good chunk of money on those kinds of promotional items, as well as various programming. So we received much of our funding from a student government association.
That's really good.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next question. So what are some building blocks for developing relationships with campus partners?
I think you have to know their timelines, you know, for they're going to start planning our fall term welcome week really soon. And so it's something that, you know, conversations have to start early enough for it to have a really meaningful, you know, I don't know, I think especially when we're new in a job, it's, you know, you hear about things as they're happening or maybe just beforehand. So kind of knowing what their schedule is really helpful. That seems so basic, but it's not always so easy to figure out.
Mm-hmm. I think you have to have confidence and be open-minded. I think that, you know, one of the questions we have later on is what is your compelling reason for partnering? So what is it that, you know, we can offer them and that we also need? So I think that having that confidence and being able to very clearly define what kind of benefit and impact it's going to have on the population. And being incredibly outgoing and, you know, building friendships with people, you know, across campus to help them to see what the library has to offer and the value that we really provide to our students. I don't think that it's difficult building those partnerships.
One of the most successful things we got out of this, when I started doing this job and I started talking to all these campus partners, I started realizing I was having the same exact conversation over and over and over again. And not just from what I was trying to pitch to people, but I was hearing the same things from other people, and we kind of realized, like, you know what, all of these people need to talk to each other as well. And so what we did at the library was we set up a new student, or a student engagement group. So essentially bringing together all of these people that we've been talking to all into one room to have a conversation together. And we started that in the fall. And we've had our second one just this past start of winter, and it's been really, really successful because then we have all the same people in the room kind of talking about what their plans are for that quarter. We're on the quarter system, not the semester system. But also each of these individual departments have a very different view, or not just view, but knowledge of the student experience. So it's also been really enlightening to hear these conversations, because we from the library and from all these other people's perspectives learn a little more about student interaction and the student experience when they're working through midterms in a way that we would never know if we weren't at a table with them. So and actually it's been great because we've been able to see programming grow around campus because of those conversations that actually happen in that room. So that's been a real boon for not just us, but for the campus in general.
That's awesome. We did very much the same thing at FSU. So just as you said, getting people together. It was incredibly successful for us as well.
Meetings, more meetings.
I know.
But I think you're exactly right. Being able to be in on those conversations instead of being the one that when those conversations happen, then they come to you, that's crucial. And at least in my case, it's pretty much expected that you are going to be having these conversations, sort of the nature of our jobs.
Mm-hmm.
The upside to those meetings is that the people that tend to want to do these things are people that you don't actually mind being in a meeting with. They all have a good attitude, so it's not too bad. And we only do it, like I said, we only do it quarterly, so it's not too much more meetings.
No, I say pile them on. Just keep them coming.
So I know we've touched on this. So what is the compelling reason for partnering when you're, you know, attempting to reach out to these various partners? So what are some of the things that you guys have said to help them to buy in?
I guess first and foremost, whenever you initiate any of this kind of conversation, there has to be something in it for both sides. And generally, if you want someone to do something for you or do something with you, there really has to be a compelling argument for why they would want to do this. That's probably the biggest challenge.
For us, I mean, essentially, we had space. We had 6,000 students rolling in every single day. They had their services and their programming that they wanted to get more participants, and we said, let's do it. So, I mean, and we provided food, as you said, pizza. So, you know, they knew that with our budget that they could have really successful programming in the libraries. So, and then, you know, we did quite a lot of assessment to talk to students about what they needed to be successful. So then we were able to use that data to say to the various departments, listen, come into the library, they're here, this is what they say that they need, and that's what we did.
Yeah, our situation is very similar in that pretty much everyone wants to use the library for something. It's the largest building on campus. We've got a lot of partners sort of, I don't want to say fighting is the wrong word, but they're actively interested in getting into that space somehow. And we also have a lot of partners that are actually moving into the library. So if anything, it's the conversation is less why you would want to be here. It's I think you're exactly right. It's sort of demonstrating the impact of what this partnership would be.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to jump around a little bit on the questions because I think that, you know, we brought up bringing partners into the library, giving them space to do whatever it is that they do. What are some pitfalls that you may fall into by offering up space?
You lose it.
Lose it, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't get it back when you need it.
And other people, the vultures, you know. You have to be really careful with space because, you know, sometimes they want it at a time when we really need it. And you don't want to have to get into, you don't want to have to be a battle or end up with the registrar looking longingly at that space.
Yeah, Joan, you're exactly right. We've got the big challenge is trying to figure out who controls what little spaces all throughout the library. And you could have a wonderful teaching lab, for example, that is controlled by an outside unit, and if you want to use that, you have to go through a whole labyrinth just to get to a space that you would think was your own. So as these partners increase, your space obviously decreases, but the use of that space just changes dramatically. So if you don't have good advocates in your administration to really control how that space is used, you can be really in a dangerous position. And I'm lucky in that we have strong advocates in our administration. But I've seen other examples where before you know it, all that library space is just gone.
I know for us, when we started reaching out to the various campus groups, and they, of course, wanted to talk about space, they all needed a closed-door office that they could lock and so forth, and we just said no. So what we did is we gave them study rooms, and it was 100% theirs while they were there. We gave them the little rolling file cabinets, and it had a lock on it. They had computers and so forth, with the understanding when they were not present, it was student space. So that is one way that we got around that. Everyone thinks they need that closed-door office. There were some partners that they said, you know what, we don't need a closed-door office. So we would give them a table and chairs and a sign that said, you know, this is their service during that period of time. So we did not give anyone, even advising, which we know they have to have, you know, those kinds of confidential conversations. We gave no one permanent space that was not accessible to students when they weren't present.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we did not want to enter into that. Now it's yours. We need to use it. We said we are here 24 hours a day. If you want to be here, the space is yours. But if not, then we couldn't do that.
Yeah, we've had the same issue in the past. There's a couple places. The Career Services campus partner has a space in the library that's dedicated just to them, and it is a very ideal space. And it was kind of frustrating for a long time because they were only there 4 hours a week, 2 days a week. Sorry, so 8 hours a week, just 4 hours for 2 days, Thursdays and Fridays. And the rest of the time this prime space sat empty. The writing place is also in the library, but they're also there all the time, so that was never really a problem. So that's certainly something that we've been very conscious about not getting into again. But with the new partnerships that we've been putting together, what people are very interested in is not so much the space for that sort of service, but the space to be seen, because we get so much traffic compared to them. Their office, like Study Abroad, their office is way, way on the north side of campus. Nobody ever walks by them, so they wouldn't know that they were there. So we've been offering essentially like walk-in, drop-in hours in our collaborative space where they can sit at a tall table with, you know, a banner behind them and have people walk up, and they're just happy to be noticed, to have the opportunity to be seen on campus somewhere, which is a nice way because it's super temporary and it's only there the times that, you know, the couple hours that they want to do it in a week.
Yeah, I would totally second that, this idea of having a space where they can be seen in a more high-traffic area. We just redesigned, reimagined a couple of large spaces in our library, transforming one into a learning commons from an info commons, and transforming another space into what we're calling a scholars commons. And that's a good example of where we've brought in all kinds of partners across campus where they can hold consultation hours, and it gives them a point of contact in a sort of very central area. It gets them an opportunity to advertise their services, but it also gives them a really nice space to have office hours or perform workshops or that kind of thing as well. And it's sort of going back to what you said earlier, it's really important to know that this space is going to be used sort of continuously by students. So we want to be mindful that we're not giving up a space that is, just like you said, is going to sit dormant in other hours, because students see this and they see how desirable these spaces are and they want to use them. So we've been really mindful to make sure that those spaces are also student spaces.
Yeah. Great, thank you. So the next question, what creative programming or service has resulted in partnering with another campus unit on campus?
Well, for SFA, we've partnered with our first years, and it's they changed the name. It was High Impact, but now it's Center for Teaching and Learning. They've morphed into one unit, and we partner with them again with this partnership is with our distance education online students. Libraries involved with that, and then with this other space that we have, it's SFA 101 students, the first years. We partner with them to do research consultation and library information skills, that sort of thing, and fun little things like that. So within our own little space that's been taken over, we've partnered with them. And we also have our archives on the second floor, our special collections, and we partner with them for our history majors. And we're currently working on a learning commons or scholar commons, as one of you mentioned before. We're in the midst of that, so that's going to be fun to see some space growing for our graduate students who are a bit ignored at the most part. It's we have about 3 doctoral programs here, and our doctoral students are not. They use the library, but we have no space for them per se. So we're going to create a space for our graduate commons. Possibly on the 3rd floor. I'm on the space committee for that, so it's work in progress at the moment.
Great. Anyone else?
We've done this last year. We started working with the Writing Place and the Searle Center, who does tutoring on campus. They kind of manage the peer-to-peer tutoring services, and we started working on right before, we called it first quarter, first final. So a couple weeks before finals came around, we brought these 3 people in to the library. So it was the librarians to do help with research consultations. There was the Searle Center to do drop-in tutoring, and then the Writing Place to help with the writing of the papers. Just to kind of, it was mostly, again, just to kind of get this information out there that, hey, these are services that are on campus that can help you out, because finals is right around the corner and it's going to be very stressful, so take advantage of these opportunities. And actually, it was for the first time that we did it, we had popcorn, of course, food. It was actually pretty well attended, and again, because it was in the library, 90% of the people that actually stopped in were just already there. None of them actually, I don't think our marketing actually did anything. That's something that we've been learning with frustration, that marketing doesn't really do much, or advertising doesn't really do much. So that was one that we did. Pop-up libraries in the student union's coffee house, and that actually is also, we've been doing that for a year and a half now, and that's been really popular as well. I'm actually surprised at how successful it's been.
So for your pop-up libraries, could you, in 2 seconds, give me an idea what it looks like?
Yeah, it's, let's see if I can actually pull up a picture. It's a table with a laptop and a giant sign that says "Talk to a librarian."
You know, it's interesting to hear you say that, because it strikes me as the kind of thing we've sort of done in one way or another in libraries, but calling it a pop-up library all of a sudden sort of puts it into this thing that's happening now in other, outside of libraries, and so it makes it, I don't know, roving reference or reference in the dorms. Doesn't sound nearly as interesting as pop-up library.
Exactly. It is roving reference librarian, but we call it the pop-up librarian.
Yeah, that's great.
Because, yeah, roving reference are 2 words that mean absolutely nothing to undergrads.
Right.
And I see you have the trading cards.
Yes, that's the trading cards has been one of our biggest successes that we've, from a marketing perspective, that we've actually done. We started those last year, and they're just insanely popular. And they actually we've noticed that they actually got used when we started implementing them last quarter during fall orientation. Our fall orientation RC stats went up for most of our librarians.
Really?
Oh.
Huh.
That's true.
And so, can you just talk a little bit more about who does it and where you do it, and about how many hours, like what time of year? Are you doing it during finals, or I mean, right before, or midterms?
For the pop-up library?
Yeah.
That's been a work in progress. I mean, for everything that we do, all of our engagement activities, we think we have 2 things in mind. One, these things will take time, and then we evaluate after each time we do it. So we did it for 3 quarters last year, fall, winter, and spring, and then we started back up this last fall. And over the course of, we've kind of figured out that the 2 weeks before finals hits are the best time to do it. So we do a reading week, which is the week before finals, where people don't have, in theory, assignments or anything like that, but actually have papers that they're supposed to be having due before finals, and the week before reading week. So those last 2 weeks of classes, we do it, and then we do it 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, of both of those weeks. And as for time, we start usually around 11, and we go until 5.
Oh,
And
that's a
that's
long
because
time.
it is a long time. And we do it that long because we used to go to 7. We would start a little later, but we would go until 7. But the stats just showed that after 5, people weren't even coming into the coffee house because they were all going out to eat. They were going to dinner, so there wasn't any point in having anybody there. The staffing is definitely an issue that you have to consider because it is a considerable amount of staff time. The upside or downside, the blessing or the curse, however you want to look at it, is that my personal opinion, this is one of the things that it's like my program that I run. So if I can't get people to cover those hours, I cover those hours.
You do it, yeah.
Because to me, that's part of what my job is, to implement these programs and try and make them successful. But we've actually had a pretty good job of getting people to volunteer. We do reference desk hours. Most of us do them, a couple hours a week. So this is essentially just adding, a couple more hours. We just do a sign-up sheet through Google to have people just sign up for an hour or 2 hours, and it's actually we've been pretty lucky with people just volunteering.
That's great.
Yeah, we do something very similar. The planning and scheduling is all pretty much just as you've described. For the first 2 weeks of the semester, we do it's sort of a concierge service outside of the usual spots of the library, and it's a table very similar to the picture you posted. We've got a banner and we've got table signage that lets you know why we're there, and you do get a lot of directional type of support. But one of the things I was really keen on is to tying into what campus services and programs there are. And at the first couple of days of the fall semester, there are personalized guides it's a lot of faculty and staff that volunteer their time at stations all around campus to help students get to where they're going. And this I wanted to have sort of tie clearly into that. And you get all kinds of questions, and I think the students really appreciate sort of that very personalized service, and kind of lets them know that, hey, we can take some ownership of this, and it's okay to ask even the craziest questions. Plus, it's fun, and people like to do it. Getting people on the reference desk is one thing, but getting them to do something where they're actually having fun conversations with the students, I usually have to turn people away.
Yeah.
So we had a similar program while I was at FSU. We actually used students to run the service. So there would oftentimes be one staff member and then a couple of students, and sometimes just students. And we would hold ours a little different hours. So beginning around 9 p.m. until 1, 2 in the morning, because that's when we knew students in the residence halls were deeply engaged in research and writing papers and writing bibliographies and that kind of work. And we knew the librarians wouldn't want to go there at that time. So we have just about 5 minutes left. There's one last question that I'd like to ask. So future directions. What are you guys thinking of? What do you want to be doing that maybe you haven't yet started, or you're just in the planning phase that you think is really interesting and unique?
Oh, I have an idea. It's not mine. The University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, which is where I went to library school, their undergrad library has mini golf in the library during their welcome week. So it's like the week before classes start, and what I love about this is that you can rent like a little 9-hole or 18-hole mini golf course, and they set up the the little putting stations near services and places in the library they want to promote. So it becomes like a tour of a self-guided tour of the library, and they put up little signage saying, hey, this is the reference desk. And I know they had like lines out the door waiting for this, and just the idea of students waiting in line to get into the library during Welcome Week is great because you get them all around the building. And you can rent one of these things for like $300 or $400. I think this is a really fun idea. I love it more. Like basically, somebody was saying, oh, it's gamification, and I said, no, it's not even gamification, it's just a game. Like they're just playing a game in the library. And so because it means that they can go to all the floors and see all the without even, it's like they're learning without you having to be like, and here on the 5th floor we have. Yeah. So I want to do that. I think it would be really fun, and kind of in a way, an easy sell because it's otherwise a pretty quiet time in the library.
That's awesome. Thanks. One thing I want to start here, I'm at the University of Texas at Arlington. We have consolidated service points, and so we have the Office of Information Technology sitting next to library staff who are cross-trained. So library staff can answer some of those questions. They can answer some of the library questions. We are working on the Writing Center we will hire the students in partnership with them. They will be cross-trained, so writing as well as research, citation, checking out, right, that kind of thing, and that the management would happen here in the libraries as well, with some evaluation from the Writing Center. So that's something that I want to really implement during my time here. Is what we know is that students, they don't know which desk to go to when they need help. I want them to be able to come to one place and get technology help, writing help, and research assistance and circulation at the same time. I'm working on them. We'll see how it goes. Anything else?
Well,
all right. Go ahead, please.
I can tell you my big dream is I think we should be doing more with our study abroad program, especially at the campus level. They've been emphasizing its importance more and more, and I'm seeing it grow, and it ties into the general global mission of the university. So my secret goal is to be the study abroad librarian, but I want to bring that unit in as a library partner because we have all of these great resources. I've got subject specialists who are country specialists who already facilitate research for their faculty and especially grad students when they study abroad. It's unformed. But that's one direction I'd like to take. Plus, I want to get a bounce castle, but
that'd be cool.
Bounce castle would be so awesome.
They keep telling me no. I've gotten them to buy full-size regulation ping pong tables, but no bounce castle.
I love that.
Yeah, that's cool too.
I'm doing it.
Just rent them once, and then all you have to do is tell them it's cheaper to buy them.
Yeah.
Love it. That's genius.
Yeah.
Any other, while we're in that dreaming mode, anything else that you guys want to do?
I've been trying to get therapy dogs in the library for 2 years now.
That would be awesome too.
Come down to Bloomington in 2 weeks. We finally got them to. It was a big no-no for a long time, but we've been able to have them every semester around midterms. I do a de-stress fest.
Yeah.
And we partner with our health services, etc.
How do you go about scheduling the therapy dogs? Who do you go to?
Okay, well, our Humane Society.
Oh, really?
Yep. Oh. And it's, I want to say it's free. We don't pay for anything, but they get an opportunity to advertise their services. And I guess my situation is maybe somewhat unique in that. Go ahead.
Oh, the dogs that they bring though? Are they certified therapy dogs, or are they just bringing? They're just bringing dogs.
Yeah, no, they have to have gone through
okay, cool.
whatever that is.
We've gotten the administration to come around on the idea, but that's been one of their requirements is that they absolutely, without question, need to be certified.
Yeah,
so I guess. Go ahead, please. Go ahead,
Go
Michael,
ahead.
please.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Okay,
So
can I? Oh no, you go. Sorry.
So we have them actually the first Wednesday of every month. They were so successful during our finals and midterms that we now have them every single Wednesday. And there are groups here. I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I think there are 2 or 3 groups that we often look to who provide that kind of training for therapy dogs. They always have a flock of dogs who are waiting to come. So we've had them to come to various events, Friends of the Libraries. We had potential donors come in. We've included that as part of our kind of showcase of library activities, and it has just been incredibly successful for us. We did not have the kind of bureaucracy and trying to go through all of these different approvals. It was approved. We actually even have our new president and his wife come on a regular basis. So
Nice.
yeah.
I'm sort
You
of
might
glad
look
to
to
hear.
see if they're.
I was just going to say, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you might look in your area to see if there are groups who provide that training for therapy dogs and reach out to them.
Yeah, I contacted one of them, but I never heard back from them once I got that. But it was also getting too close to the time period anyway, so the schedule wasn't gonna happen.
I'm sort of glad to hear that there are other people who are having problems bringing therapy animals into the library, because I sort of felt like every library was doing this except ours.
No, we're
But
not.
you know what? Yeah, we're not. Yeah, and they go to other places on campus. But we have something really awesome nearby. There is a therapy llama. And
That's even better.
I know.
I know, but we can't bring them. It's like yeah. I've sort of. It's funny because when you said dream big, I feel like I've finally sort of done my grieving for not being able to bring in therapy animals and moved past that.
I don't think you can dream much bigger than a therapy llama.
We're done.
So, Joan, you're in Portland, is that right?
Yes.
Can we ship llamas?
I don't know. I'm going to send you guys a link right now. And it's funny because the llama actually lives across the river in Vancouver, Washington, but it totally is like a Portland thing, isn't it? Like.
That sounds so Portland.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, I know we're having so much fun, but I don't want to keep you all. It's just after 1. Any last-minute questions for any of the participants?
No, just this is great. This has been really great. Thank you so much.
So glad. So as we said kind of at the beginning, March is going to be social media, so outreach via social media, and then April is assessing our outreach efforts. I think there are also additional sessions every day this week, right, Chris? I don't have the schedule in front of me.
Wednesday, Thursday, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's also an opportunity to jump back on and talk to others who, are doing different really cool things. I personally have learned a lot. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to be sending you an evaluation form. So we want to make sure that we are holding the kind of programming that's going to help us all.
This is great. This is a good way to do this. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye.